Hello and welcome to the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer Group Stage Tournament. I'm joined by Growlwolf today. I'm Animus United, and we're here to see Paraducks64 versus Boog2TheMan. Should be a lot of fun, very exciting, and we're going to be starting momentarily. So for this race, we're going to have Group 2, which means that hammers can break locks. We're going to have the in-car game. And for our second race, we're actually going to have Group 2 no hammer lock, which means that the hammers will not break the locks for that one. So we'll have the opportunity to see a lot of different overworld routing for our two races here. This is not a best out of three to erase any confusion. We're just having two races here. Group stage, as the top two runners from the groups will advance onto the bracket stages. So yeah, we're going to get started in just momentarily, just getting everything situated. Should be less than a minute. Getting all hashes checked. And while we're waiting, any guesses as to what our first world is going to be? There's the first 7 worlds are randomized. Oh, we're already off. And here we are to World 3.
Absolutely. And what a fun world to start off with. There's a lot of things that could possibly go wrong or even go right in World 3. So World 3 is the smallest world that has the most pipes. There's 5 pipes that are going to be on the mainland where Mario starts. And then, of course, one will take you to Windy. So I'm very interested to see if we have any divergence of strats, anything that one runner might try over the other one. Really be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, a lot of times World 3 can end up being a world where you can double hammer right there at the beginning, and since that's the first world, we're not going to see that.
No, and especially with the hammers breaking locks, there's also a very distinct possibility that our runners would still try to hold on to those as well. Because 2 hammers used on the 2 rocks right there, unless it's a really tumultuous circumstance where you have like 5 levels and you know the first one's Atlantis, you have a guess that the second one's going to be bad too. Really not a reason to use that because it could be the difference of worlds based on that little gesture and depending on what you pick there. So a little bit interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So looks like Paradox has found 7F1. My guess would be that 7F2 is that fort right next to him. Fortunately, gonna have to go through the Tanuki suit routine since it came in small. But no enemies, so pretty easy fort overall. Just can take longer if you don't come in with the mushroom.
Now, we just saw Boog2TheMan looking at his flower very intently, deciding whether or not he wanted to play against the Hammer Brother. Ultimately decided not to, and has actually picked a different fortress. So we had a 50-50. The 2 runners have picked 2 different levels. We'll see which one's right.
I like the way Poke went just because, as far as the overworld goes, going to the left means that you're getting closer to that pipe over there. It looks like, though, that this fort is not going to be useful. It looks like it's going to break that lock that's next to that mushroom over there. But it's one step closer for sure to this pipe that's over there in the middle. I believe that's the pipe that takes us to Windy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is correct. So it'll be, I believe, in the spot where it usually is located. So I believe it is a vanilla. Yes, it is. It absolutely is a vanilla placement. So Paradox just going to have to go back, play a couple levels here, and then he'll be on to his fight with Wendy.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we got 4 or 5 here, which, as you can see, one of the cool features I like to point out of this is you'll see those glowing bullets, which means they will come right back at you. This only happens in this level.
I believe this is one of the many levels in SMB3 that has triggered therapy throughout the years, because you're doing fine, you're feeling good, you got yourself a little mushroom there, and then boom, bullet bill comes right back at you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's certainly happened to me numerous times as well.
Absolutely, but there's one thing about this game that just keeps continuing to bring us back, and Yeah, it's got a lot of great memories for us here.
Oh, for sure. And this randomizer is certainly a lot of fun to get to experience it in different ways each time. So we got 6-4 here, which, as you saw at the beginning, there can be a little bit of lag with all the enemies that spawn on screen. And you gotta watch out for this ending fan as well. It can be a little bit tricky to get through. Yeah, that was a good jump by both of our runners.
Absolutely. Boog2TheMan really showing up well so far. Just on Paradox heels at this point, really is looking to do his absolute best here. Statistically, the group that these two runners are in, I believe, is the group E. They are done. So it is basically a closed group at this point. Boog2TheMan statistically cannot get in. The best he would be able to do is tie for third at 4-2. And Paradox is currently sitting at 3-1. So a couple things are still at play for him. So for Paradox, if he does go 2-0 here against Boog2TheMan, then he's going to tie with Minigun DP, and of course, whoever has the higher or the better average time, I should say, will be seeded better and moving into the bracket stages. But so the worst case scenario for Paradox is he goes 3-3, and then gets seeded a little bit more poorly. So Boog2TheMan should still be looking for an upset win here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's gambling for a hammer here, but unfortunately we just see a music box there. So gonna go in 7F1 with the mushroom, so that would be a little bit more helpful. And 7 I see has a lock that is completely useless.
And another one that will be in our way. So either the runners do have to find a hammer, or they will have to play at least one of the fortresses, maybe two. I'm curious here as well if any of the, or if either of the runners do any divergence. Looks like there's really not a case for it, though.
No, that looks like a fairly linear World 7 so far. And Paradox will be able to see immediately whether or not this is the correct lock, since we only saw 2 fronts and the lock is directly above him.
Absolutely. And pretty tame seed so far. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything's too out of whack, too unheard of, or hard to get to, but we'll see if that changes on the back half.
Yeah, absolutely. We know you rolled this seed, so this is too early to say this is a tame seed.
Absolutely. You think you've got a couple of easy ones, and then you have a rough World 4, like we saw yesterday. The seed, I think like 8 levels were required. I didn't even know there was that many in World 4 to begin with. But with just how the placement was, you literally had to go all the way down the right side and then back around the left side. So, if there's something possible that could happen, and no matter how crazy it is in randomizer, there's a good chance it's going to happen.
Yeah, I rolled a seed of a World 5 where runners had to go back up and down the Sky World and Ground World. So I hadn't seen that. I don't think I'd ever seen that. So yeah, you never know what can happen in these rando seeds.
An incidental death on Windy, the earthquake, I think, did throw off Boog2TheMan. So unfortunately, that means he does have to play the World 3 airship again. So we do have a Fred airship here, but we'll see if he goes for the item this time.
Yeah, Wendy's definitely the toughest scoop link, so that'll be good for both of our runners to be able to get through that first. Paraducks able to beat 5-2, no problem. Just gonna get that level out of the way, why not? And
Absolutely.
before he goes pipe searching again.
Especially when you're in a situation where you did just break a fortress, you're not 100% sure whether or not it was the correct one, and you've already found your way back to that third island set. So you might as well play it. You know you have to. You're already there. I mean, why not?
And plus, made small odds, but you could end up getting a level that happens to have a item, like a hammer or something, so you just never know. You did pick up a cloud from that plant, so that'll be huge. I think with the way the routing is set up, though, Boog is going to catch that cloud as well, since the fort over there is required.
Yeah, definitely a very good possibility, but it looks like Paradox is getting a little lost in the pipe maze. we'll be interested to see how this plays out for him. I think he actually had it at one point. Okay, he did, and he decided to not play the level and play the pipes instead.
Yeah, Boog could catch up here if he decides to play this fort as opposed to the one that Paraducks played at first.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they were both pretty free to get to. It's just a matter of navigating the pipe maze. So theoretically, if Boog2TheMan does find the right route, decide to go ahead and play it, or even just stay here after the Piranha, play the 5 panel, and then go ahead and play the fortress. You know, you see a fortress, you play it. It should be a bit of a time recovery.
Yeah, it looks like he is going for the correct fort, so yeah, that'll definitely be a time recovery.
Absolutely, and just like that, he does get the Jugum Cloud there as well. We are very interested to see where that does come out. Some players get a little antsy. They decide to use it, try to get them to a fortress a little bit quicker, whereas others will hold on to it in case of a really terrible level like Atlantis or a dangerous 7-5 like we saw the other day, 6-6, or anything that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, and sometimes it depends on the flag set as far as my mentality on that. Most of the time, I'll try to use clouds on an overworld basis. And what I mean by that is I don't like to cloud a level where I have to come back across it. I like to cloud levels where it fits on the world map, if that makes sense.
For sure, and I know that's a pretty popular strategy as well, is to go ahead and hit or use your cloud on like the last level in the world. That way you don't even have to worry about it. It's another level down, you know, play a little bit of risk with that because if it's something good, yeah, you definitely got your money's worth. But then if it's like a hand level, you know, you just wasted a cloud on something that can be very practical. But you know, each their own, and you're right, it's the case by case basis. You kind of just got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's certainly a risk. I always like to make sure I don't save a cloud to the end because if you save a cloud too long, you won't have an opportunity to use it. And if I just happen to come across 7-5, so be it. But that's the risk you take in Rando for sure. As Paradox is able to find a way and is going to be on his way to the third world. Any guesses in chat of what the third world is going to be? You got any guesses, Girl Wolf?
I think I'm going to go to the land of snow and call World 6 coming up next.
I'll go with Desert World 2.
Boog2TheMan did have just a problem with 3F1 a moment ago. Is going to go ahead and bypass the item and march right into his fight with Boom Boom.
Well, Girl Wolf, our expert commentator has guessed correctly. It is indeed World 6 Snowland.
You know, I think I've got to give you credit as well, though, because this is 2-1 that Paradox is currently on. So we got the desert in the snow. We both won.
Absolutely.
And a bit of a tricky
compromise.
Yeah, there we go. It was a bit of a tricky enemy set there at the end. It looked like he was starting to have a little bit of a problem with the lag, as like 4 or 5 enemies were all there at the same time. But fortunately, Paradox was able to avoid that and not take any further damage.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to play the end card game here. Getting a lot of items here. We'll have to see what these are. See if the end card game's useful today or not.
Absolutely. And what is the purpose of that then? So it looked like we had 20 coins showing up with flowers and things like that. What do you mean, look at the items?
What I mean by that is that the items are randomized. As we saw, the items don't necessarily match what items you actually get. So we could have clouds, hammers, mushrooms. You can have the occasional one-up pop up as well, but those are our main items that we're going to be seeing today.
Absolutely, and it looked like a hammer had come up for Paradox and wound up being very useful for him to continue moving on. Unfortunately, he does not have a second one, so he will have to go back and find a fortress now.
Yeah, and certainly, I don't think this is necessarily the case here, but I've certainly seen some World 6s where they love to troll you and make you build a bridge and break a lock, so You always have to watch out for that if you see a lock there at the end and thinking you're good. I think there was only one fort in this world, if I'm not mistaken, from what I saw.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't looked bad at all. We have a 10 panel there and another one there. So, yeah, absolutely. It looks like it is a one fort, which happens to be 7F2. So, we got the snow, we got the sand, we got the fire, we got it all here.
Absolutely. Son of 2, definitely what I'd consider to be the toughest level in the regular Super Mario Bros. 3 game. I know the Air Force for a lot of people. I've seen some lists that try to say that's the toughest one. To me, I think this is way tougher. I know the fast auto-scrolling makes it brutal, but you talk about all these plants everywhere, the fact that you game over, you're going to have to go through a bunch of levels to get back here. I just think this is brutal.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And a couple years ago, when I first started in SMB3 Randomizer and playing it for the first time, I was in a race that took me 2.5 hours because of the enemy set on 7F2. So I am right there with you. That is such a terrible level to try to find, especially in the beginning of some of these seeds.
Also, a quick shout out to Macobra52 for deciding to make 7F2 even worse with his Macobra patch, in which plants do not come up and down. So 7F2 could always be worse for those that are struggling with 7F2 right now.
Because apparently in the Super Mario Brothers 3 randomizer community, it's not just good enough to be tough enough. We got to make it even worse.
Absolutely. Well, I saw you a few weeks ago wanting Boom Boom to be tougher, so Macobra answered the call to make it a little bit tougher for our runners.
Yeah, they keep asking for feedback, and unfortunate death from Paradox. Not really one we're expecting to see there, I don't think.
Yeah, you tend not to think that it's a tough Koopaling, but with the way Randomizer works with some of these airships, Lemon can, kind of phase through the floor sometimes. And sometimes it just you just get put into a weird spot, especially if you come in a small Mario.
You're absolutely right, especially with this World 4 airship. It does get a little complicated with the left side if he does move. But thankfully, 4 hits later, that is the end of it for Paradox.
Tried to go for the off-screen wall grab, didn't quite make it. Meanwhile, Boog2TheMan was able to pick up a cloud from a hammer level and a cloud from the hammer brother, so Paradox got those clouds as well. Boog has 3 clouds in his inventory right now, so that's always a good feeling when you get those.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think I've seen 1 or 2 on the side of Paradox, but it felt like Boog2TheMan was actually playing a lot more levels, including a hand level. So he bypassed the rock play that Paradox has done, and I believe it's because he doesn't have a hammer yet, and has really just not found any resistance at all. He found a hand level, which is super easy to get through, and still could have a hammer now.
Oh wow, Paradox just found a hammer from the Hammer Brother in World 4. So wow, that's a very useful Hammer Brothers to see. We've seen lots of clouds and hammers.
Boog2TheMan had a little bit of an issue with the 2 fire piranhas in the 2 pipes. So he has come back equipped with a fire flower. I think that's a really good decision here. You've got a bit of protection, kind of going on the offensive, fight fire with fire kind of thing. And hopefully he gets through it this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Paradox was able to get past 5F2. From my experience, I would make a guess in saying that that's going to build the bridge that he needs for World 4. And he's going to cloud here, and that was only 1 fort. So that was definitely the fort that was needed to get out. And just going to need to play a Hammer Brother, and he's going to be out of this world.
Yeah, kind of a tame World 4, all things considered, but Paradox is going to be finishing up the World 6 airship here in just a few minutes. Jack, go ahead and get your guesses in as to which world you think is next.
Boog able to get past 7F2. Big shout out to him. I know personally that level has plagued him in the past, so definitely some great improvement there to be able to get past that level for him.
Absolutely, and I do have to give him props here. He has done such a great job today so far. Really keeping it up close with Paradox. All things considered, and he does have those extra items that he picked up, like 3 clouds. Hopefully, he's got a couple of other good things there, and hopefully, we'll see a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, for sure. Once he's past this level, that will be all he needs for this world. He might consider clouding here. Wouldn't surprise me. Maybe not. Maybe want to save them for later, for if you get across a bad level, like you were saying.
Yeah, definitely a very good possibility. But this is World 3. He'll be going into a quick World 4 next.
Ooh.
Iron Atlantis.
Well, that'll be good to save the cloud for.
Absolutely, and it is still relatively early in the seed. There is a possibility we could see more, but it looks like Paradox is going to go ahead and take that early exit, play a couple of the fortresses, make sure he has the way undone, and then probably use that cloud to not have to worry about it again.
Yeah, as we were saying before, he might not have the hammer. He might have just used it in World 6. He does have a hammer, actually, so I guess he could cloud if he wanted to, but that's just going to take a gamble on this fort to see if it breaks the lock and save the hammer for later.
Yeah, Paradox did just get his second hammer and the World 4 Boomerang Brother, so we're going to be watching to see if Boog2TheMan is able to get that as well. Now, one of the biggest things is you don't want to be down the right items, and that's obviously a very complicated and difficult thing to do, because if you get the right items, obviously it means you're going to be in the right place at the right time with the right item. But if you play every single thing, you're taking a lot of extra time to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely the art of balancing, and sometimes it's just the art of getting lucky with the randomizer.
Yeah, and we talk about the great equalizer being World 7, World 8, a couple things like that, but really, honestly, the only answer is the randomizer gives and the randomizer takes away. Sometimes you get a really forgiving seed, Jet World 3, Jet World 7, 3 bridges, whatever to Bowser, and you're done, you're out. But other times, it could be a lot worse, and really, it's all just up to the randomizer, and sometimes who rolled it, apparently.
That's right. Well, you can't blame the runners. It's all about the person that rolls the seed, of course.
And looks like another hammer on the side of Paradox. So far, we have 2 more hammers on the side of Paradox, and hopefully Boog2TheMan is able to get those as well.
Yeah. I mean, this seed has been very generous with hammers and clouds. It adds to your point of randomizer being randomizer. Sometimes there's some seeds where barely get any, if any at all. Other seeds, you see seeds like this where they're just giving them away. Free for everyone.
Absolutely. I find the strategy interesting there, because if you're a miser and hold on to them as much and as hard as you can, because like right now we've got 3 clouds on the side of Boog2TheMan. He needs to start thinking about using those, and there will be a possibility he gets too many and then will not be able to use those. So hopefully he does start to play a little bit more aggressive here. He's about a world and a half down now, so anything would help him come back. And the worst mistake is to have 3 clouds at Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, certainly so. We'll see what his thoughts are coming up. Like I said, there's certain runners that want to use it for overworld strategy, and others that are just waiting for a bad level. My guess is Boog's waiting for a bad level, and we've seen that with Atlantis. Looks like this is a pretty free world too, though, for Paradox.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a little surprised actually that he even played this level. There are more clouds on his side, I do believe. I think he has at least 1 more. So,
Yeah,
go ahead and play,
well.
get through it, and then head to the castle.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised too, but man, I guess it didn't end up being that bad of a level, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've got the items, you don't know what your next level is going to look like, which I believe is World 5, so maybe that's why he's holding on to it. There's that possibility of 3 levels at the very end there. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I think Boog did use a cloud on that level. I could be mistaken. I just looked over and saw Boog at the mushroom house, so maybe he's starting to use the clouds.
I think that's a really good decision as this race is starting to get a lot closer to the end. At first, it looked like we were going to be going for a mid 30. And right now, with the pace that Paradox is currently on, just finished World 6, going into World 5 here in just a moment. You know, it's starting to look like a low 30s, probably at best at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it can certainly, the randomizer can certainly change just like that. We'll see how World 5 goes this time. We've seen some bad World 8 5s. Oh, this is a very interesting World 5. We see 3 forts, the maximum amount of forts that can be in a world on the ground level. The good thing is that hammers do break locks. So I believe we still have some hammers left, if I'm not mistaken. So you might just want to consider doing that rather than trying to go back and up ground in Sky World.
Absolutely, and especially on the left side, it looked like we had 2 fortresses in the tower, and if neither one of those does break the lock, or build a bridge, I should say, then you have to know that there's going to be something up top. So, oh, I take it back. There was actually a pipe on the left-hand side. So, really, once you finish these 2 out, you might as well just go up, get a lay of the land, come back down if you have to, and move on. You know, but like you said, if they have a hammer, it's going to be a moot point at that regard.
Honestly, and this is a super aggressive play, but with all the items that are here, this is a play I might consider here. You see a lock, you see a bridge that needs to be built, which means you only need 1 lock up top. I mean, I would consider just double clouding, getting up top, and then hammering up top to skip 2 long forts, and just going up to the top, see what's up there.
Okay, very interesting. So I think you've got a really good point there. It looks like the lock is still intact on the bottom. So the first fortress he played was, in fact, the correct one. So it looks like he's got a pretty free World 5. We're going to have to wait and see what's at the top level. Obviously, that could be a doozy. We saw 3 entries to the sky part already on the bottom, so there's not going to be another way for him to enter. It could be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on where this pipe comes out of. If it's on the top right side, that'd be pretty unfortunate because we're going to have to play 4 levels. It's all about that pipe placement when it comes to this World 5 Sky. But if we're lucky and it's just right there at the bottom left, hey, we're out of here.
Absolutely, and great.
And there it is.
There it is.
Out.
Kind of
this seed has certainly turned into jet-like type the past few worlds.
Absolutely. I feel like it's been like 3 worlds, 4 levels, or 4 worlds, something like that, in the last 9.5 minutes or so. So really came out as being a much quicker seed than we had originally expected, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But we've yet to see World 8, and you never know how fun World 8 will end up being.
Absolutely. And to start on the fun, we played a mini game here, Bridges to Bowser, where we guessed how many bridges it's going to take for Mario to get into the Bowser's castle for a fight with the big turtle.
I'll go with 2.
I think I'm going to have to go with 1 this time. I think we'll try something different. I usually guess for a higher number. I personally like to see the higher numbers. I think it's really interesting because then you get a lot more diversity in the way that people choose. But that also means that everything's open. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see that happen, but we'll have to find out.
What you tend to find in World 8, though, is that the bridges aren't really the only thing affecting your path. A lot of times these locks will be in your way to where you're going to have to play forts as if they are a bridge. They're in your way. So it's not necessarily always about the number of bridges. It's also, you know, where's that lock going to be that's in my way of getting to Bowser's castle?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You know, we talk about build a bridge, break the lock, build a bridge, whatever. It doesn't matter because you're absolutely right. If the fortress is in your way and you've got a pipe maybe just on the other side or another fortress, you know, play it. Get it done with, make sure it's not in your way any longer. And unfortunately, that is also as important as finding the fortress that does build the bridge or break the lock.
And we see, you know, we see some different strategies when it comes to World 8. As I like to say, my strategy for World 8 is I don't have one because anything you do, you know, it could end up being right or wrong. But there will always be 4 forts in World 8. Yeah, there's the Navy, the Air Force icons. One of the 2 different tanks. One is just a regular level, and one's a fort. And then there's this icon that Paraducks is on, which is the 8F1 icon, which it happens to be vanilla this time. And so, you know, some runners are just going to say, hey, if I see a fort, I'm just going to go ahead and play it. So that way, while I'm running around all the different pipes, yeah, that means that there's a good chance that it's not going to be blocked. And I'm not going to have to come back and play the sport.
It's definitely a very good point there. And I think that's probably the best explanation of World 8 I've ever heard is not to have a strategy going into it because, you know, if you're always going to be the one that seeks out the fortresses to play them first, you know, you might be missing a pipe that takes you directly to Bowser. Whereas conversely, if you're just looking for pipe, you might also miss a critical route.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a new adventure to go to World 8. It looks like no more clouds or hammers for Paradox. Does have a fire flower. I don't think I saw a hammer suit. So probably gonna save that fire flower for Bowser. And it looks like this level is in his way, so he's just gonna have to play it, which 5-6 without an auto scroller, not too bad, although right there at the beginning, you might have seen him stop a little bit. That's because those enemies can sometimes despawn that he needs to jump over.
Yeah, one of the few levels that actually has the Parabeetle, kind of a different enemy, not one that we see in many levels at all. But yeah, the first set is usually not a problem, but that second set, the first one will actually spawn lower than it's supposed to because we have turned the auto scroller off. So yeah, a bit of hesitation. You know, you'd much rather be safe than down in the abyss somewhere.
This is a very interesting World 8 setup. So Paradox, checking some other pipes, ends up onto the top of Dark World now, which means that Dark World doesn't seem like it's our answer to get to Bowser's Castle. So it's just going to go ahead and play these forts.
We had an unfortunate death on the side of Boog2TheMan in World 6 Fortress 3. He went into the elevator, and unfortunately, a hot foot was underfoot, I suppose. And Boog2TheMan was actually not able to get out of the way the first time. So he's equipped a mushroom, and now he's back into it, trying to get through it this time.
Yeah, do see he's on his last life as well. However, even if you game over, the fort is still going to be broken. You see 2 forts there, so really no point to game overing at this point.
Certainly unintentionally, for sure.
Meanwhile, Paradox is going to play the final fort, so he's going to have all forts done of World 8.
You know, kind of going back to the strategy of see a fort, play a fort, you know, it kind of pays off here. It was really just a linear strategy at this point. And it looks like it is 1 bridge required, 1 bridge not required. So still got 2 bridges, and it's time for a fight with Bowser.
Yeah, it ended up being, the pipe ended up being right behind the tanks, so I guess we don't know exactly what fort built that bridge, but definitely was able to play all the forts, so you knew you were in the clear. See if he's able to get this top clip, which a lot of runners go for this top clip because the fireballs in statue room are randomized, so it makes it a little bit more difficult than in the vanilla game, and we are going to see the top room here.
Yeah, that randomized fireball set and that statue, the laser being randomized, are not fun places to be most of the time.
Many runners can definitely say they've lost their fire flower or suit there, but not this time for Paraducks. Get your GGs out for Paraducks, who was able to take game 1 this 2-game set.
You know, you kind of have to believe that Paradox is feeling good at this point. You know, he's definitely looking for 2 wins here. We've got Mini Guy in the chat. He has already claimed first place for now, but Paradox with this next race can actually alter that and tip the scale a little bit. So they will go in with a tie. We definitely have Mini Guy and Paradox moving on, especially now at this point. Statistically, it's not possible for the other runners to upset that. So they will be your first and second place coming out of Group E, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing them in the bracket stages as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really played race by both of our runners so far. I think this is definitely the best race I've seen. Boog2TheMan. I thought Paraducks made some really nice plays as well. The next race I think is going to be kind of interesting with as far as how our runners are going to adjust hammer breaking blocks. Well, I'm not sure I've ever seen that. That second block there was just on Boog2TheMan's side as he's going up the spiral staircase. That's interesting. I've never seen that.
I feel like we're learning something new all the time. I was watching a race the other day, and one of the runners actually got clipped into the pipe at the bottom, much like how they would do the clip in 7.5 to get through without having to play, going up and down and up and down. But it's going to be very interesting to see if anything else happens here for Boog2TheMan. I mean, he's already done such a great job. I believe a bit of a newcomer to our community, but really putting on just a really great show. And, being in World 7 at this time, nothing to sneeze at. And hopefully he can find those fortresses out here real quick.
Yeah, and I feel like that World 8, I definitely think he didn't have to play all 4 forts here. So we'll see if there's a little bit of divergence of how he chooses to play this World 8. See if he's able to get to Bowser's Castle a bit quicker.
Indeed, and with Randomizer, I mean, it's a different seed every single time we play. So, yeah, the levels are going to be the same. The worlds are going to be the same in the layout, but obviously the way that they change based on where levels are, where fortresses are, where pipes are, yeah, that's going to be randomized. And, these guys can be super fast through these levels, but we also randomize the enemy sets. So, it's always interesting to see what happens. It's always a different game, no matter what. And I think that's one of the reasons we like the randomizer so much.
Yeah, for sure. So Boog's just going to go directly and try to find Bowser's Castle. Okay, so I think that first fort actually broke that lock, so I don't think we saw that lock on Paraducks. So I think that first fort is just useless. We know that that pipe on the right is where Boog needs to go. He doesn't know that yet. So looks like Boog's just going to try to look through some more pipes and try to see if he's able to gamble and find the way to Bowser's Castle early.
Yeah, certainly possible. I mean, he found a fortress, decided not to play it. Now he's back into the hunt for the pipes. We'll find the other side still hasn't played the fortress. We'll see if he does go back and play the hand bridge fortress and see if he gets it right.
I just wanted to decide to play F1 here. I believe it broke a lock on the bottom right corner of the screen. This does tend to be a fort, though, that tends to break useful or build useful paths, I find, in Randomizer, but probability is not always 100%, so, and that's certainly evidenced today, since this fort really wasn't all that useful.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It seems like this fort and World 2 Fortress, for some reason, were always the one I saw having something to do with getting to Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, definitely. I'll add another one to that pile. Fort 2, or Fort seems to always be useful.
Yeah, we might just be conspiracy theorists, or we might be right. I don't know, but it definitely seems like there's a few levels that you kind of always either see together or see near each other or something along those lines. But, you know, not a whole lot of surprises here for our runners. It's interesting to see what Boog2TheMan does after this. We'll see if he goes back to the hand bridge or if he does continue to play fortresses here. So we'll stay tuned.
But he's going to make his way back to the hand bridge.
Decisions.
I cannot blame him here. You see a lock broken over there, and in the dark room you cannot see what's over there. My thought would be, hey, there's a pipe over there that lock broke. Why not go check it out?
Yeah, I have to agree with that for sure. It seems like you have all these extra possibilities right now, and you only see two more fortresses here. You saw one back in the hand stage. You know, I don't really understand the purpose of playing the level there.
No, and you know, since Boog2TheCloud decided to go for it, unfortunately that wasn't a pipe, but hey, just gonna go ahead and play this. It's over there, and there is another pipe that's on the top left for him. I'm sure when you're thinking of probabilities on that top left, knowing how many pipes are in World 8, that you gotta feel pretty good about that being a pipe up there, so that way you don't have to play that level again. And plus you see two forts over here as well, so knowing if you did have to come back to this area, you're in good shape.
Also, another thing to point out is he still is at 0 lives. So if he does find that he's a little bit trapped, doesn't want to play a level, that extra death would mean he does start over and none of the fortresses will be required again. So should be a little bit of a help in that regard.
Yeah, so he's gone through everything. And this is one of the last two forts he can play, but we know that this is the only fort left that can actually do something since we see that lock up top. So if he's able to get past this level, he's home free to Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, definitely should be. There was another fortress in the dark room on the right side, but I believe that was the tank sprite. So I'm not 100% certain that would be required either.
That's the other tank sprite, or the other tank, so that would actually be just a regular level. As this is the super tanks here. The other fortress was in the first room, which was the Navy icon. So he'll be good here.
Yeah, most definitely. He should be able to get through. And we hope that's the bridge built. It looks like they are. So absolutely right, Artemis.
Yeah, and luckily there's nothing in his path. If he were to lose a life here, game over. He's just home free to Bowser either way. But let's see. He's in there with the tail. I think he's gonna get it first try. Let's see if he's able to get it first try.
Absolutely. And just a little bit of a nice breath of relief there. It's always nice having a little bit of security. That way you don't have to take that extra time going all the way back and trying to remember where you went the first time.
Yeah, definitely. And oh, I did forget about that too. One up there, so actually you're good. As long as you get that one up every time. I don't know how I could forget about that, but that's always helpful.
Oh yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to keep myself alive with those things, and I was counting because if you don't manage to make it, you do lose a life, and you're basically having a negative loss there. So, do have to be careful to at least get that far, especially as you're starting out off and practicing this crazy randomizer.
We saw the top path. Now we're going to see the bottom path. One of the biggest differences of the top and the bottom path is those aren't donuts. That's solid ground. So not having to deal with, having to jump immediately and avoiding fireballs. Secondly, Bowser's room in the bottom path is actually different. You see, it's a little bit wider as far as blocks go, and you're not having to deal with as much ground having to be broken either.
Yeah, his fight here is a little bit weird in how you just mentioned it. The bricks themselves are like moved up an extra block, which does make for a bit of a different angle. It's not the worst thing, and our runners are very good at still being able to manipulate Bowser and whatnot, but also isn't something to be unaware of, especially if you're going to be trying that second round.
Get your GG's out for Boog2TheMan, who's able to finish up the seed with an official time. Well, I actually don't have the race time in front of me. Official time 45:34, I believe. 45:32, excuse me.
And a huge round of applause to Boog2TheMan, who just at a randomizer PB. So very well done. I must have been very happy with the scene. I mean, he ran a really good race, and what a way to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Always great to see PBs, especially in tournament play when it counts, when everyone's watching. Huge congratulations and shout out to Boog2TheMan. That's what we love to see when you're able to improve just step by step. That's all it takes in randomizer. Learning something new each time. Hey,
Absolutely.
that's the way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. 40, as 45 is a really, really great place to start. I'm sure you remember the first time you had a 45. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. You start seeing the progress and all the leaps and bounds and the success that you've had so far. And, it just kind of culminates into a really great feeling that, hey, you have learned something and you've done something really good. So you're right. I mean, huge congratulations to him for sure. What an awesome place to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, we got a second race to go. Anything can certainly happen in this second race. Going to be some different strategies with hammers not breaking locks this time. We're still having the end card game on, so I'm still going to have that for some different items. But hammers aren't exactly be as useful as we saw in this. There's only going to be certain worlds where rocks are going to be able to be broken. So it'll be a lot of fun to see this different type of strategy. This tends to be, say, longer seeds just because you're not able to skip as much. But they tend to be a little bit more linear as well, since you're not going to be able to really diverge in paths too much. Since you're going to have to go 4/4 pretty much every time now.
I hate to interject, but the runners have actually picked a question mark level seed, so hammers will still break locks this time.
Oh, my mistake. Looked at the flag set wrong.
Oh, no problem at all. But the question marks is a little bit interesting to me. This is Boog2TheMan's choice, and I find this one interesting because out of all the things that you could pick, I'm curious why question marks.
I mean, the difference, there's not really a big difference between these two. The real big difference is in World 8, you're going to be replacing the hand levels with question marks. Or with a regular level tile, so I guess you don't want to create fate into your own hands. You'd rather just play the level rather than getting pulled in by a hand level. Other than that, you might get some information as far as the level tile numbers. For instance, in World 6, if you see, 2 6 10s, then you know that there's not 3 forts. But the level numbers in general don't mean anything. So yeah, World 8's about the only thing that we're going to see a huge difference here between our last flag set and this flag set.
Yeah, I do find that interesting. As a commentator, I love pointing that out. Oh, we have 3 10 tiles here, so there's only going to be one bridge, and so on and so forth. But as a runner, I find that very difficult to be looking out for because I kind of get into a tunnel vision, like, hey, I have a fortress here, I got to play it real quick, and you're not necessarily looking for the big picture, which is, hey, there's an open castle, go find it.
Yeah, I know there's several runners that do look at the numbers. I can definitely say most of the time I'm not really thinking like that when running either, just because there's a lot of other stuff you're thinking of in addition to just that. So for me personally, if I'm running this, I don't really notice a significant difference in the first 7 worlds. World 8, I'll definitely see a difference just because you can sort of tell where there could have been a hand level. You're just playing a regular level instead. Uh, and you never know if that level in World 8 could be bad or not. So clouds are definitely going to be more useful in World 8 for sure.
That's very interesting. I'll be completely honest. I actually did not know the part about the hand levels being covered by those, which I do find interesting. And, could bring in some strategy for sure, like you said. I mean, if Boog2TheMan has another 3 cloud seed, that's a really great place to be, especially going into World 8. That could mean a difference of a lot of time based on what levels were hidden and whatnot. So, very interesting. I think this is going to be an interesting play on the side of Boog2TheMan, but hopefully it pays off.
Yeah, Dig with a great comment. Loving how world maps have become a puzzle in randomizer. Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly one of the things that draws me in as well for the SMB3 Randomizer. I definitely the puzzle aspect that randomizer tends to bring. And I definitely think that this start, to be able to start with 6-5, I find that a little bit relieving just because you're going to have guaranteed power-ups here. So you're all powered up and ready to go to the next level coming up.
Absolutely. I've always appreciated having this one, especially early on. We get some of those like 7-5, 7-8, some of those levels that are very terribly complicated, right out the gate, especially like 7-1 or 7-6. But you're right, with 6-5, you get to start off with nothing and still wind up pretty quickly with a good item, especially in that tail. And if we had saw 7F1 right after, what a way to start a seed.
Oh wow! So this is the first world, but the double hammer play would have been absolutely useless if this was a later world.
Absolutely, those hammers are going to be a lot more valuable, especially with them breaking locks. That's something that we're going to be looking for. It's really a top tier item for our runners in this flag set.
Yeah, absolutely. Always looking for those hammers to be able to skip forwards for sure.
Paraducks did have a bit of a problem with 8-1, has decided to not play it again. That may have been an intentional loss, but I can't say it fault him. This early on, you don't have the resources. The momentum's really not there yet, and 8-1's not a forgiving level.
No, it's definitely not at all. It's a very tough level, especially in randomizer. One of the sections I hate the most of 8-1 is you tend to see a hot shot right after a certain spot that you have to duck, and yeah, for a lot of runners will just end up taking damage there. It's just a really annoying spot there, so can't blame anyone for wanting to cloud that level at all.
No, certainly not. And what a start this seed is. I've finished. Wow.
7-5. Oh my gosh.
With a big boss bass on a quick free launch on Paraduck's side. Ew.
Yeah, and there are 2 levels on this side, but I definitely can't blame Paradox for deciding, hey, these 2 levels are probably just going to be quicker than that 1 level.
Yeah, I mean, what a call. You find out with 1-6 to start. You know, we're interested to see what the other one is. If it's Atlantis, you know, good luck. But
yeah, I mean, we've seen some more World 3s, and unfortunately, this looks to be the roughest World 3s that you can come across. Especially if that pipe ends up being useless. Well, no, it wouldn't be useless. That has to be the pipe that goes to Wendy, so... Yeah, this is looking a little bit better than 7-5. So 2 1 levels here, so a little bit of relief here.
an unfortunate hitbox on a Paragoomba, sorry, does mean that Boog2TheMan is going to lose that cloud that he had and is going to have to play 8-1 again.
Yeah, very, very, very unfortunate. Hitboxes in this game love to be trolly, unfortunately, so...
And thankfully, I think on the side of Paradox, that is going to be 3F2, which means the pipe will be here shortly afterwards. But what a way to start a seed. I mean, if we had a bad level, it was here.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's just, this is an unreal World 3 to see both 8-1 and 7-5, and just having to go to the vanilla pipe location once again, it just makes World 3 that longer when the pipes don't end up being as useful shortcuts as they can be.
Absolutely. I mean, especially with the lock on the bottom there, that pipe's completely useless, and it wasn't a huge help to begin with. So really just like a level separates each of the pipe pairs all the way up to Wendy, and that took a bit of some skill to get to because there was either 2 levels or 7-5 with the boss pass. So, you know, you pick your poison, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and even if our runners did have a hammer for that rock, there's a possibility that it just breaks that rock instead, so that could just be a waste of a hammer there to try to skip these 2 levels.
Absolutely. We had a issue with that on a previous race where the runner did the exact same thing, broke the rock instead, and even said in comms afterwards, like, yeah, I had a feeling it would. And I think it has to come down to the priority from the vanilla game taking over priority from the randomizer, but, you know, it's a hard lesson to learn, unfortunately.
Yeah, can't personally say I know which one takes priority. Whenever I'm in that situation, I just tend to, you know, unless I know I have a lot of hammers there, I'm going into the thought process of thinking that's going to be 2 hammers needed to get the way I want to go. So, if there's ever that situation, I think a lot of runners do this too. We just tend to just avoid using a hammer in that spot.
Yeah, for sure. And Boog2TheMan with an unfortunate game over does mean he's going to have to start over here. What a tough start for the runner.
Yeah, definitely. Good thing for him is that, you know, you're starting out with 6-5, so you're going to be able to go into 8-1 with a power-up all boosted up. But yeah, it's certainly a very unfortunate tough start. Meanwhile, Paraducks is able to find World 6, which is another one of what I'd consider to be the longer of the first 7 worlds. To me, I think World 6 usually tends to be the longest and worst world. I don't know about you personally. And look at that swag by Paraducks64 going for that clip.
Beautiful clip for sure. And you're absolutely right. I think World 6, it's been deceiving because you don't go through all the pipes, you don't go through all the different levels that you would on, say, 6.5 or on World 5 or World 7. But really, you do have just a really long world potentially, especially based on where those pipes are.
Yeah, I find those pipes love to, most of the time, not give you many shortcuts. And whenever you get a quick World 6, you definitely praise that seed. That pipe will always be there behind the rock. That's actually not randomized, so that's always a play that is kept in mind if you do have a hammer, whether hammers break locks or not. Because you never know where that pipe could take you. Could take you right to the end. As the logic in rando to come across that is thinking that you don't have a hammer, so you could end up skipping having to play a fort the way that the world is set up.
Absolutely. That's also the reason why World 2, the rock in the top right corner, is also not required. If there was a fortress that was required that happened to spawn back there, obviously you'd have to have a hammer, and there would be the potential for a soft lock in that regard.
So, Paradox is able to find the, we're able to get the clip of 7-1. So he's gonna be able to move on, go check out a coin ship to see if we're able to find a useful item here. And while I see it on Boog2TheMan stream, you noticed that we saw a little Goomba shoe. In SMB3, you can only enter a Goomba shoe if you're able to hit it from the bottom, which doesn't really happen in a lot of randomizer situations. I'd love for the opportunity to see how you kind of see it at Mario Maker, where you're able to enter the Goomba shoe from the top. I think that'd make things interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure, and would be also interesting if we could make that into a power-up. I'm not sure how that would work, especially with it being a stasis effect, but it could be interesting.
But I don't want to miss this. Paradox did get a hammer from the coin ship, so that will definitely be useful. Did play an extra fort, or did play a fort as well, so you gotta feel pretty good about that. And I think it's a good move not to use your hammer at this point. You see 2 pipes over there, and you just see 1 level on this side. Chances are you're only skipping 1, maybe 2 levels. That the 3rd pipe's on your right side. I think this is the smart call here.
Yeah, definitely have to agree, especially with there being a lot of locks left to come. I mean, this is still just World 2. You've still got 1, 2. 2 could have that rock in the bottom right, or have a lock that could move you along quite quickly. 1, if the lock is in its vanilla position, I mean, it's a really easy way to get through and not have to worry about it. So, you know, there's a lot of possibilities to use the hammer still, and you're right. If it's an open world, it is. So a very good call on the side of Paradox.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always, and I think a lot of runners too, always thinking of the World 6 hammer play, just because World 6 tends to be one of those where it's a good world where you can use the hammers. But you're absolutely right. It's super early right now. You gotta be thinking of the big picture as well, even if it is a World 6. So, Paradox is in great shape, heading off to World 3. Got any guesses in chat of what our 3rd world's going to be?
Interestingly enough, it looked like Boog2TheMan was having a bit of a problem with 7.5. Ended up getting launched on by the Big Boss Bass there, but did go back to a toadstool house and find a hammer suit.
Yeah, I probably want to, and I think this is a good move. You know, you always want to make sure you have power-ups in your inventory, especially if you're coming across different hammer brothers or just for levels in general. And
Looks
yeah,
like
he's going to make the smart decision as well to just try your luck with 2 other levels as opposed to just 7-5. I think that's a very smart move. Meanwhile, Paraducks, wow, I think that was a free world for Paraducks. I just blinked and he's already on the airship.
you're absolutely right. That did not go long at all for Paradox. If anybody knows what world that just was, let us know. We're still trying.
That's a good point because I wasn't looking.
Yeah, I mean, what was that? Like a 30-second world?
My guess would be World 2, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, World 7, Chad is telling us. So I could definitely see that being the case. Just a pipe and then a hammer, I'm sure. Maybe he had a music box, and yeah, that's it. It's always nice when you have a World 7 that's quick and easy like that.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, especially if you've got a free world 7 where you can get to the 3rd island. I mean, and also if there's 3 fortresses on there, that's a huge swing from having to play potentially 4, 5, 6 levels to now not even playing anything and just going straight to the airship.
Indie guy with a great point. Ludwig was the boss, so that definitely means it was World 7. So, yeah, even if it's 2, I think it's a great move to just play the hammer there just because I'm not really a huge fan of Pick a Fort, as I like to call it. You never know. The odds are in your favor. Maybe you get it, you don't. But I always like to use the hammer just because you might avoid having to play a second fort even in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if nothing else, even just the pipe fatigue is a huge reason to go ahead and play the hammer game. Go ahead and use it and just keep going on. That way you don't have to worry about those pipes. You maybe push a bit of an advantage you have with the hammer. I believe both runners have it, so probably nothing there to be worried about. But, go ahead and take care of it. That way you can continue to move on and maybe get another hammer, maybe you don't, but at least they're going to be very wide open worlds for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a great play to play the hammer there, for sure. Paraducks able to find 1-5, not too bad of a level to come across. Is able to get it done. Going to World 2, gonna go ahead and play a cloud there at that spot. I think that's a good move, especially if you have a star, so that way you're kind of locked into that position where that hammer brother is. Looks like only had 1 hammer, so not going to be able to use the rock play there if it was even viable. Sometimes you can see where even if you do the rock, the lock sometimes can be right after that rock, which makes it useless. So, and plus that there's 2 pipes, I believe, that are going to be on the other side as well. So probably not a move you want to use that. There's anyway. The 2 pipes are coming up, which means 2 less levels you're going to have to see.
Yeah, and especially with how that pipe format can be on the right side, there is a possible that is the last level he has to play. So, not exactly will be a fortress and a level, but still not too bad.
Yeah, very unfortunate setup. But because of the way this is set up, he is going to be able to go for the item here. It's not like playing Boom Boom is going to do anything different here. There are certain possibilities where playing this level that is not required tends to open up shortcuts, but that fort in particular is a special case where if you go for the item, it actually doesn't break the lock or build a bridge if it's in that scenario, so it's not going to be in the path of a required like all the other forts are going to be, since it has that special property to it.
We had a question in chat. Is this the worst possible first world? I believe for Boog2TheMan it is. It has given him a lot of issues. Just had a loss on the Windy fight from before this. Did equip a mushroom, is trying his best to get through it this time. Hopefully he does succeed.
Yeah, it can be a very brutal World 1, especially with this arena. It's not flat arena. You're just having to deal with Windy. I can't exactly remember how many hits it is. Well, it's more than 3. Having to do the World 7 airship, it just makes this a pretty brutal world for sure.
Absolutely, a pretty rough place for Boog2TheMan to be at this point. You know, Paradox was able to use that veteran ability from having played this for so long. You know, kind of basically just waltzed your way through it. Was able to use some strategy. You know, saw 7-5, immediately got out, and you know, it's just one of those things. You know, we saw Boog2TheMan get his PB in the last run. Unfortunately, now this time it's going to take him at best, you know, 19 and a half minutes to get through the first. So, you know, it just how is how the randomizer can be. It gives and it takes away.
That's true. That's a very good philosophy. You've been saying I really like it. It's definitely accurate for sure.
Oh dear, that is a game over on the side of Boog2TheMan. So that will mean a restart of the world. The fortresses will stay broke, but unfortunately he will still have to play the levels, and there were quite a few to start with.
Maya with a great memory in chat. She was a 5-hitter, so the maximum amount of hits you can be, all the Koopalings are between 1 to 5 hits, and you always hate 5-hitter would be. Meanwhile, Paraducks enters into 7F1 with the flower, but no problem. Just going to go through the Tanuki suit routine to be able to fly up, take on Boom Boom. Actually, Wedwiz with a very great point that 8-1 is not required either because the lock was broken. And that was definitely a level that gave Boog2TheMan a lot of trouble, so he's not going to have to play that now, so that would be good for him to be able to get back to Windy quicker.
Yeah, very good point indeed. I had kind of missed that, but that's absolutely correct. Hopefully, Boog2TheMan is able to figure that out, seeing that extra pipe there. Hopefully will trigger the memory of, oh wait, I don't have to play that.
Yeah, very good point. Meanwhile, Paraducks able to beat the correct fort, just go through a few pipes and out of war.
So it seems like a pretty miserable start for the runners, but has really started to play out for Paradox nicely. This is going to be about a 21-minute going into World 6 here, and we will catch up with that here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well done. These past 3 worlds have definitely been very jet-like, so that's been a bit of a relief from that first world. I think it took Paradox around 7 minutes. Not too bad the past. Well, I guess 4 worlds actually. I cannot math apparently. Past 4 worlds have been very nice for sure.
I have received mixed emotions as far as going and doing math on stream. Some people are all about that. Others would prefer not. So, you know, I've been fired by some and promoted by others. I'll let you make the call on that one.
But yeah, Paradox is able to use a hammer there. Go ahead and get rid of a lock to be able to skip a bunch of levels in World 1. So that's always a nice feeling. Meanwhile, Boog2TheMan able to get 8-1 first try. Very nice job. Yeah, I don't think I would have caught that either as far as the fort breaking the lock. And being able to skip that one level. So that's a very heads-up play by Midi Guy and Widwes for thinking about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's, you know, you get into that runner's vision where you're just looking to try to get back to Windy as quickly as possible. You know, you've got that huge red timer up next to your screen, and you know what the timer says, and unfortunately, you cannot will to get to Windy any faster or to have a better fight. You know, you just got to do your best and hope it's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Paraducks able to get past 7-3 with the lack of 2. Up at 6F3, doesn't have a music box, so just gonna go ahead and play the Hammer Brother. Able to use a star, so able to despawn the boomerang quicker and got a clock.
And just like that, we are now on to the next airship. World 6 was World 1 with a level of Fortress and a Boomerang Brother. And now we're moving on. So World 7 coming up next.
Yeah. It's always usually good to see World 1. Tends to be a quicker world, especially if you have a hammer. But yeah, very, very nicely done.
Looks like another hammer suit on the side of Boog2TheMan. Hopefully he's able to hold on to that one a little bit longer.
Yeah, that tends to be the, I think that's the mushroom house that only has hammer suits, if I'm not mistaken, as that's randomized throughout SMB3 as well. World 6, there's the mushroom house that only gives you the hammer suit, and so that's in a random mushroom house as well throughout, so I'm assuming that is what we saw, which is always nice to see if you're able to come across it.
Absolutely, and you're right. It's one of the rarer items in the game for sure, both vanilla and really randomizer in a lot of ways, because there are only a couple places where the hammer suit does actually show up.
World 5 is our last world, immediately greeted by 6F2, our ice fort for Paraducks. As we've said, World 5, you know, you're always trying to figure out the way to get to the top, and you're separated by a bridge that's not built on that second island always. So it's usually an adventure of trying to build the bridge or just trying to get the pipe to go top. And it seems like this time it's just going to be the pipe.
Very interesting on the side of Paradox. He does have a fortress on the right side, and the lock did just break, so we'll see if that is a required fortress, or if it's even going to be necessary at all.
Yeah, there's a possibility there's a fort on the top. We will certainly see. My guess is that would build a bridge.
Oh, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's a really good spawn set. No other forts. And very easy World 5. Huh. Wow.
Yeah, there's no words for that, really. We had such a terrifying World 1 that Boog2TheMan is still struggling with. And then the next 6 were just rattled off like a level or 2 on each. And Paradox was moving right on.
Yeah. And absolutely. Got the Earthquake there. That's normally the Koopling that does have Earthquake. And now he's going to move on to World 8. We'll see how many bridges are around that Bowser has left for us to build.
I think this time I do have to go with 3. I'd sure like to see what could happen here. And Mini Guy with a hot take. Sub 30 maybe?
It's certainly possible, especially if the hammer play works out. And we have the mysterious anchor as well, which can be the item. Wow, so we have 2 required levels to begin. One is the vanilla tank. I believe that's a Fred. I believe we're going to have to call that a Fred there. That is right on the tile of where the vanilla first tank is. And he's going to get an item from this as well.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. A welcome sight for sure. And I'm curious to see if he'll use the cloud here, because he will not have to come back to the lava lake as soon as he does get through it. So, you know, maybe not a bad idea.
And Boog is able to get past Wendy, so very awesome, very nice, very glad for him.
And a huge shout out to Boog2TheMan, who has finally gotten through World 1, a tumultuous, very scary World 1 to start off with, but he's through it. So hopefully the easier levels can start showing up and he can, you know, start making some movement here.
Absolutely. So Paraducks decides to use the cloud for the pipe. That was definitely a smart move there. Comes across a fort, decides to go ahead and play it.
Yeah, not a bad
Ends up
call.
being 5F1. We'll see if we see any visible locks broken. We do see a lock broken. And there's another lock right there, so there are 2 locks up top. So we know there can only be 2 other bridges. Or 2 bridges that could be built. Now we know there can only be 1 bridge that could possibly be built. As there is a lock right there. In front of another fort.
Like a very linear world 8 here. Unless Paradox is able to find a pipe that actually takes him where he wants to go very quickly, it's just not going to matter how fast he can go. The sub 30 will not be possible.
No, it's very unfortunate when this happens, and there's a possibility that that lock up top of Dark Room is actually blocking the pipe he needs to go as well. So, or of course, there's a possibility that that fort that's broken, that's being broken by the lock right there, is required to build the bridge. So you just never know with World 8.
Yeah, it's looking very interesting. I mean, we do have a bit still to play, and I believe, if I saw it correctly, on the left-hand side of this bridge, there's at least 1 pipe, maybe 2. So there also is that possibility for Bowser to be there as well.
Yeah, there's 2 tanks to go through here. Well, this next one's going to be at regular level, and then there are 2 pipes to the left here, so that's probably what Paradox is eyeing. Now, I could always be a little bit concerned that these 2 pipes just end up going to each other. Well, Paradox is not going to go for that. He might just go for the other fort now. That is what he's going to do.
Yeah, definitely a really good heads-up play from Paradox, believing that that will just be a regular level. Not something he's all that inclined to do. So, go ahead and turn around, play the one that you know is the fortress, and keep moving on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very heads-up play, very nice play. Come across 5F or 4F2, excuse me, which means he's going to be able to maybe it breaks the lock up top in Dark Room, or maybe it's built a bridge. I guess we'll have to find out.
Indeed, and we do know where
that top, and it did break that lock. So it looked like there might have been 2 forts that were making 2 locks there. And oh, so that was not the way.
Interesting for sure, but it is nice to know that you don't have to play that other level, certainly if it's not required, like you said. And now you also know that the pipes do not connect to each other, so that's a welcome piece of knowledge as well.
Yeah, I think at this point it has to be this pipe in order to go to Bowser's Castle. Yeah, the level you're going to have to play either way, unfortunately. And with all question marks here, what normally we'd probably see at hand level by now, we've just seen a bunch of regular level tiles, so having to play the maximum here, and looks like there was 1 fort missing. We know it's not the tank.
7-1 still being a bit of a problem for Boog2TheMan, unfortunately just having no luck with the clip this... Oh, finally got it, thankfully.
Very nicely done. We always love to see when the clips are able to be done. And yeah, it was the regular castle tile that we were missing. That ended up being on the top right corner there, the Air Force, which was the fort required in order to get through this. So it looked like we needed to break some blocks to be able to get to this here Air Force in order to be able to progress on to build a bridge. So, like we like to say, it's not always about the bridges to get across, it's about the lock as well.
Yeah, you are absolutely right in that regard. And Midi Guy with a hot take early saying Air Force builds bridge definitely seems to be the call. So very well done.
Well, if you're thinking about vanilla, the Air Force is the one that breaks the last lock to Bowser's Castle, so there could be some logic there for sure.
I thought it was the super tanks that are right before Bowser.
Oh, you're right. I don't know my forts.
I could be wrong. I think what this means is we need to go back and play the vanilla game, if nothing else, just for the fun.
That's true. I just have randomizer on my mind. I don't even know what the vanilla game looks like anymore.
Yeah, we do like to shake it up a little bit, but Paradox with a nice first clip here, going for another mac and cheese, hopefully can get it. That fireball room can be tumultuous and very scary, where I think it's like 4 to 6 fireballs can show up, and the laser statue at the end. Just not a good time.
Yeah, not, if I'm okay, he's able to get it. I was gonna say I probably wouldn't have be so quick this time to go for room, even if it takes me over 100 seconds. The fact that I'm able to keep my hammer suit is enough motivation for me to continue to go for it.
Totally agree with that. And also join me in congratulating Paradox with a GG on a very nice run. And we will also wait and see if we can get him in for an interview for a few words, especially on that second seed. I'm kind of curious to see what he thinks about that. Well, the start and then moving on into a real easy 6 worlds there in between, and then 8 had a little bit of some trickery to it, but ultimately still wasn't that big of a deal for Paradox in the end.
No, that was a very well played seed once again by Paradox. Definitely looked like you might have had to fight all 4 forts in that second seed for sure. Maybe at least 2 or 3. So yeah, just a really well played, nice seed by Paradox there for sure.
Yeah, I was just trying to think. It looked like the first hand level was required to break the lock on the L, and then that one was required to break the lock that led to the pipe on the left and the fortress on the right, which ended up being Air Force. So just a great job on behalf of Paradox to be aware of that, to not play really a whole lot of extra levels at all, and really made a fine showing of that World 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
And looks like we will have a forfeit on the side of Boog2TheMan. I certainly do not fault him at all for that. A really disgusting showing on the first world. I mean, what else can you really say except ew, I think. 7-5 with the boss pass with 6-5 to start, not terrible, but and somebody did just join the commentary booth, so maybe we can get a first person perspective on that World 1. But congratulations, Paradox, for a first place tie.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I can't blame him to that was one had really bad combination of stages. That was something else. Those were long worlds, and yeah, I saw the forfeit, and I can't blame him for forfeiting after this world one.
Yeah, definitely a pretty unforgiving set for sure. We were just talking about that. We saw you go through 7-5, took a very quick nope out of the stage, and then turned around and went, and I believe played 1-6. So definitely cannot fault you for that at all. It just seemed like a lot of real tricky levels without a lot of resources. We saw 8-1 come up. We saw, I believe, the fortress. Was that 7F2, or did I just make that up?
I don't remember.
I might have been the first seed. I get both of these seeds mixed up myself.
I only know that this seed was not beginner friendly at the start. You don't have inventory, and you need to pass up all these stages. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't think we could put it any better ourselves. We were on the side of the desk, and we were still, feeling for you guys on that one. And I think we even made a mention within the stream itself that, it really shows where the veterancy is of a randomizer. We've seen you around a long time, Paradox. You're an outstanding runner. We love watching your races and everything. And I can only imagine that the level of veteran that you have on this game really played to that effect. And an unfortunate case for somebody that's brand new to the SMB3 randomizer, but sometimes that's just the way that the seed rolls.
Indeed, you start with really bad stages with 7-1, or my personal one that I starting with is 5-8 with a lucky 2, and you have a star at the beginning. That breaks a beginner. Then 7F2 at the start is really bad too.
Yeah, definitely.
Looks like Boog2TheMan is setting up, so hopefully we'll get him in here as well for some few thoughts on that as well. Any further thoughts on either of the seeds? Anything you liked? Anything that you noticed?
Those Will 8 were weird. I don't know. I needed to do all four to get to Bowser. That was pretty bad on both seeds.
Certainly a huge congratulations to you for finishing with a 5-1 record. Gonna be moving on to the bracket rounds.
GG's to him for having to PB into our race, and I think he can do a sub 40 in Challenge Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely with the right seed and with the right items and things like that. If you get in the right place at the right time, I would fully expect to see that from Boog2TheMan, and hopefully he does. It'd be very exciting to see. And we were talking about it on the second seed for sure. With the fortresses in World 8, it certainly seemed like you had just not even the bridges that were required. It was just a really linear World 8, and seemed like it took you a long time for that.
Well, the fort to get to Bowser was really bad. What can you do?
Absolutely, and we are now joined in the commentary booth with Boog2TheMan. I'd like to start off by saying congratulations and GG on a job well done.
Thank you very much. That last seed was just ridiculous. I didn't expect to be on that seed that long, or that first world for so long, and then I just out of that I just didn't have the mindset to continue as soon as I saw the Paraducks finish. So that second seed was just terrible, but the first one was very well. I PB'd in a rando for my time, so it was pretty nice getting a 45.
Absolutely, and definitely congratulations on that. We were all very excited when we heard that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's been rough these last few weeks, trying to grind out for at least trying to get better at the game. But I mean, for my skill level, I feel like I did pretty well. I feel like I didn't do anything bad, or it wasn't too awful. It's just, I guess it's got to be the luck of the seeds to be in my favor.
To get to 1 hour 20 minutes to 40-45 minutes, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly a great place to start. I mean, that jump from, like Paradox said, anything from an hour, even an hour plus, down to that sub hour, and then even down to 45 is exceptional. So, congratulations on that. It looks like the work is paying off for sure.
Yeah, I this was all just me. I was just My goal for this tournament was just to have fun. I didn't really care if I beat anybody or not. I mean, I'm glad I got a 45 for the last set of matches, so I'm very happy for that. I'm gonna hopefully try to get sub 40 soon, but for now, the 45 is perfectly fine where I'm at.
Oh, you'll get some chances in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, definitely don't forget about that. We do have the Challenge Cup still coming up, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
I might be able to join. I do have things in the next month, so I don't know if I'll be able to actually do them all, but if not, I'll just probably sit out. But I'll definitely be watching to support anyone who is running that one.
Well, I think we did just get some more information. So it's looking like a single elimination tournament. So with this being a group stages, it was the double round robin, so 6 games in all. Definitely could be grueling. You know, it seems like there's a lot of runners that have just so many different schedules. We've got the European runners joining as well. Definitely thankful to have them, but you know, a lot of scheduling and things like that. So hopefully this next one won't be too bad for scheduling for everyone. And we do have another run coming up here in 24 minutes. It's going to be a 4-way race. But I think for now, runners, any further questions, thoughts, comments?
I truly don't know pretty much what to say besides I'm kind of glad I did join this for the long run. It was very fun, like, something new. I've never really ran Mario Bros 3 before, so doing a rando was pretty much new to me. So, but it was very, very fun, and I'm glad I did the races that I had to do.
Absolutely, we were glad to watch and get an opportunity to see progress each race by race.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always nice having new faces, new people that join, you know, even if it's somebody learning the game for the first time or somebody that's played the vanilla game so much. You know, kind of Randomizer really takes a game that we know and we love, and it updates it, it changes it, it challenges you, it really makes you start thinking, and just part of what we love about the game. But with that, I think we will go ahead and tidy it up here and go ahead and get it closed. Like I said, in 20 minutes, so at 9 p.m. Eastern, we do have a 4-way race between Leslie Pro, Europsolis, F. Coughlin, and Jetta BB. So that is going to be right here on SpeedGaming 3. If you're not already following all the SpeedGaming channels, certainly do. They put on a lot of really great races, just do a lot of really cool things. So we definitely really appreciate them for being a part and for working with us to make this tournament happen. Also, if you are not following these runners on stream, I did try to do the command. I believe both of you have the same names on your Twitch stream. Is that correct?
That is correct for me.
That is correct.
All right. Well, definitely go find them, give them a follow. You know, show them that you appreciate them putting on the time, putting on the show. You know, a really great set of races. We certainly appreciate both these guys making time for the race and for us to be a part of it tonight. You know, I think it was a lot of fun, and I think I speak on Animus' behalf as well for that. You know, we appreciate you guys with all the races and everything that you do.
Well, thanks for your commentary, guys. Thanks for having me on the stream and all. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like without us, there wouldn't be really any commentators too. So thank you guys as well.
Well, it's certainly our pleasure, and I think we will go ahead and close it here, and we will get the stage set up for the next runners, and we'll be looking forward to that race. On behalf of SpeedGaming, the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer Tournament community, Paraducks64, Boog2TheMan, Animus United, this is Grawolf signing off for now, saying keep randomizing, keep racing, take care.
Hi, everyone.